Ethan, I said, and I made him look at me. Tell me why you sent that text. Ethan swallowed. He opened his mouth, and the words came out like a speech he had practiced in the mirror. Dad, it is complicated. Vanessa and I have been under stress. We have been arguing. We need this trip to reconnect. We need privacy. We need only family so we can focus. I kept my face calm. Only family, I repeated. That means her family, not yours. Ethan's eyes flicked to Vanessa. Then he looked down. It means the kid's dad. And Vanessa's parents are helping with the kids. It will make things easier.
The air in there was warm or stale with energy drinks and old takeout. Papers covered the desk. A printer sat jammed with half-fed pages. A stack of unopened envelopes leaned against the laptop like a warning sign. It was not just messy. It was the kind of messy.
If they came back to retrieve something, or sent someone I wanted them to think their stage was still intact, then I moved deeper. Ethan called it his home office. I called it the room where Bills went to die. I walked down the hall and pushed the door open with 2 fingers. The air in there was warm or stale with energy drinks and old takeout. Papers covered the desk. A printer sat jammed with half-fed pages. A stack of unopened envelopes leaned against the laptop like a warning sign. It was not just messy. It was the kind of messy that happens when someone is running from the truth. I closed the door behind me and stood still for a moment, letting my eyes adjust, letting my mind do what it had always done at the bank. Find the anomaly. Find the thing that does not belong. The trash can under the desk was overflowing. I pulled it out and set it between my knees like a bucket of ore. On top were crumpled boarding pass stubs receipts for luggage fees and a glossy pamphlet from the cruise line. Under that were loan offers pre-approved, like bait. Under that were carbon copies of checks torn in half. I started sorting without emotion, one piece at a time, flattening paper, reading headings, noting names, noting dates. Then I found what I did not want to find. A home equity line of credit disclosure, printed on thick paper with the address of this house at the top. There was a section for borrower signatures, and there it was, my name, Walter Hayes, written in a way that looked close, but not right. Too heavy on the downstroke, too straight on the curve. The hand that signed it did not have my rhythm. My fingers went cold, not fear, not grief, something closer to disgust. I picked up a second page, a notary acknowledgement, partially filled out with...
Yeah, she forged his signature. What a bee.
The blank seal space and a date penciled in. It was set up like a trap that only needed one more step to spring. I sat back in the chair and stared at my own name, forged by someone who had eaten at my table and let my grandchildren call me Grandpa. The room went quiet around me. I could hear the air conditioning hum in the hallway. I could hear my own breathing. My mind did what it always did when something crossed the line from bad to criminal. It built a timeline. Consultation fee to a law firm, transfers to Pike, an appraisal appointment, a HELOC packet with my forged signature, Vanessa saying onboard coordinator and paperwork, Ethan calling it complicated, Loretta saying I get confused, Ray talking about him being head of household, Trent lounging like a parasite. They were not just excluding me from a cruise. They were creating a narrative about me, the old man who was confused and difficult, so they could move money and property around while I looked like the problem. I did not scream. I did not punch the desk. I took out my phone and photographed the signature page, then the notary page, then the disclosure with the address and lender name. I made sure each photo was clear. Evidence is only useful when it can survive scrutiny. I kept digging. In the bottom of the trash, I found a yellow sticky note folded over itself. I opened it, and my heart gave a hard thump. It listed a bank name, a branch location downtown, and a safe deposit box number, followed by a 4-digit code that was not mine. A code, not a password for a streaming service. A code for a box in a bank vault. I stared at it until the numbers felt like they burned. Then I photographed it too. I leaned forward and pulled open the desk drawer. Inside were more papers loose unfiled, shoved like someone had tried to hide them quickly. I found a business card for a notary service. I found a printout of a calendar invite with the words Juno meeting documents. I found a receipt for overnight delivery to a Seattle hotel addressed to someone named Vanessa Pike Hayes, marked signature required. My hands were steady, but my chest felt tight. They had legs to their plan, real legs, not just gossip and greed. They had scheduled steps coordinated across states timed around the cruise itinerary. This was not impulse. This was architecture. I stood up and paced the room, once slow, deliberate, letting my anger move through my body without taking control. I had seen people do reckless things in panic, quit jobs, drain accounts, scream at family. It never ends well. The people who win are the ones who keep their head while everyone else is drowning in their own emotion. I went to the laptop. It was closed, but the charger was plugged in. Ethan was not the kind of guy who remembered to shut down properly. I opened it, and the screen lit up, asking for a password. For a moment, I just watched the blinking cursor. I felt a strange gratitude that Claire never had to see this, because she would have been torn between heartbreak and denial would have eaten her alive. I tried something simple. Ethan's birthday, wrong. Vanessa's birthday, wrong. I tried the kids' birthdays, wrong. Then I tried something that made my throat tighten: our old home address, from when Ethan was a boy, the one he claimed he hated, because the neighborhood was not fancy enough. The laptop unlocked. I stared at the desktop like it was a confession. An email client was open minimized, and I clicked it. The inbox loaded. Dozens of unread messages marketing travel confirmations, bank alerts. Then I saw a thread with a subject line that made my stomach twist: urgent funding confirmation deadline. It was from a lender I did not recognize at first. Then I realized what it was: a hard money outfit, the kind that lends fast and collects faster. The email was addressed to Ethan with Vanessa copied, and a third address that looked like Loretta's. The message was blunt. Funds would be released only upon receipt of executed documents and verification of collateral. The collateral address was this house. The guarantor name was mine. I scrolled down and my pulse kicked harder. Another line said, travel schedule noted: documents may be executed in Juneau as planned. However, any delay beyond 48 hours would trigger a penalty and a call-in of the note. Call-in of the note. Penalty. Those were words with teeth. I clicked another attachment in the thread and my mouth went dry. A draft guarantee form with my name typed in. A field for a signature, a field for a notary seal, a checklist that included photo identification and proof of authority. Proof of authority. That was how they planned to do it. Not just forging my signature. They planned to present paperwork that made it look like they had the right to act for me. And if they could convince a notary or a judge or a clerk, then the bank and the lender would not ask deeper questions. They would assume the old man was fine with it or too confused to fight. Vanessa's voice came back in my mind. You always make money the point. She was right. Money was the point. It always had been. The cruise was not about family memories. It was a cover, a floating distraction, a controlled environment where they could move pieces while I was either on the ship and isolated or left behind and humiliated. And the humiliation was not an accident either. A hurt father is a quiet father. A hurt father doubts himself. A hurt father is easier to push into a narrative. I closed the email and sat down slowly. My hands shook once, just once, not from age, but from rage that threatened to boil over. I pressed my palms flat on the desk until it passed. Then I did something I had taught myself to do in every crisis. I wrote down the variables. Who benefited? Vanessa's family clearly benefited. Loretta looked too pleased, too practiced. Ray looked like he enjoyed power. Trent looked like a man who lived off other people's budgets. Ethan benefited in the short term, maybe to keep his marriage together, maybe to keep the peace, maybe because he was already in too deep. Who was the weak point? Not the money. Money is the goal, but it is not the lever. The lever is always paperwork, signatures, access deadlines. People can lie about their feelings. It is harder to lie about a notary record if you know where to look. I stood up again and moved through the room with a new kind of calm. I took photos of the Juneau calendar invite. I took photos of the notary card. I forwarded the lender emails to my own address, then I saved them offline. I did not trust anything sitting on Ethan's laptop. People get desperate, and desperate people delete. In the bottom right of the screen, a little icon flashed: a shared drive folder. I clicked it. A folder labeled Family Documents. Inside were scans of passports, birth certificates, and then something that made my stomach drop. A scanned copy of my driver's license. A scanned copy of a document titled Limited Power of Attorney, the one I signed after Claire died. And next to it, a new file labeled Updated Authority Draft. Updated Authority. Draft. Those words were all I needed. I did not open it yet. Some part of me wanted to tear the whole thing apart right there, to print it, to march it into a police station to call Ethan and demand answers. But that would be emotion driving the car, and emotion crashes into ditches. I took a photo of the file list. Then I closed the laptop and left it exactly as I found it, screen down charger, plugged in like nothing had happened. I walked back into the hallway. The house felt different now, not like a home, not like a stage set, but like a crime scene waiting for the lights to turn on. In the kitchen, I noticed a clipboard on the counter under a pile of travel snacks. A list in Vanessa's handwriting hotel check in meet coordinator sign papers, confirm wire, confirm wire. There it was again, money in motion. I poured myself a glass of water and drank it slowly. My throat was dry, but my mind was cold and clear. I checked the time, late morning. They were probably already at the airport laughing too loud, acting like they were finally free. Vanessa probably believed she had won something. Ethan probably told himself he would smooth it over later like he always did when he kicked a problem down the road. They did not know what I knew. They did not know I was sitting in their house, holding the blueprint of their betrayal in my hands. A part of me wanted to drive straight to the bank downtown and demand to know what was in that safe deposit box. Another part of me wanted to go to the appraisal firm and cancel the appointment. But those were pieces. I needed the whole board. I walked back into the study and opened my folder from the safe, the one they never asked about. I ran my finger down the trustee line, my own name, clear, strong, undeniable. The trust was mine to control while I was alive and competent. And I was competent. More competent right now than I had been in months because pain has a way of sharpening you. I put the folder back into my bag and zipped it up. My hands were steady again. There was one person I needed to call, not the police, not Ethan, not Vanessa. Someone who understood the law and the way people weaponize it against the elderly. I stepped onto the back porch for a breath of air, looking at the tidy yard, the grill Ethan barely used, the swing set I paid for, all of it built on my willingness to believe my family would not cross certain lines. They crossed them anyway. I took out my phone and scrolled to a name I had not used in years, an attorney in Charleston who had helped me structure my retirement, a man who specialized in the kind of quiet violence that comes dressed in paperwork. I hovered over the call button, then stopped. Not yet. One more step first. I needed to know what was in that bank box, and I needed to move before they could. I slid the phone back into my pocket, picked up my keys, and walked toward the front door, locking it behind me, as if I still had the right to protect what was inside. Because for now, I did. And I was about to find out just how far they meant to go. The drive downtown took less time than my thoughts did, and that was saying something because traffic on a weekday can turn a simple errand into a test of faith. I kept the radio off. I needed to hear my own breathing steady and controlled the way I taught myself to breathe when a client tried to talk fast and confuse the facts. I parked in the garage beside the bank, the one I used to walk into 5 days a week, wearing a tie and carrying a briefcase full of policies no one read until they were in trouble. The lobby smelled the same as it always had, marble and coffee, and something faintly floral pumped through the vents to make money feel comforting. I nodded at the security guard like I belonged there because I did. Even retired, I knew the rhythm of the place. People in a hurry make mistakes. People with secrets avoid eye contact. People about to be caught suddenly become polite. At the reception desk, a young woman with a neat bun looked up and gave me a professional smile. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you?" I told her my name, Walter Hayes. I said I needed to speak with someone in safe deposit services. Her smile faltered for half a heartbeat, then returned. "Do you have an appointment?" I said no. She tapped her keyboard and her eyes moved faster than her hands. Then she looked up again. "One moment, Mr. Hayes. Please have a seat." I did not sit. I stood by the desk and watched her walk away. The little shift in her face told me something was already in the system. Maybe a note, maybe a flag, maybe a story about me that someone had planted like a landmine. A few minutes later, a man in his late 40s came out from behind the glass doors. Gray suit, careful smile name tag that read, Daniel Mercer. He had the look of a manager who had been trained to keep his voice calm no matter what disaster was happening behind the scenes. "Mr. Hayes," he said, extending his hand. "I am Daniel. Let us step into my office." His office was small and tidy, a framed photo of a fishing boat on the wall, a plant that looked too healthy to be real. He closed the door and gestured to a chair. I stayed standing for a second, then sat slowly, making him wait for me. It was a small thing, but small things mattered when someone was trying to take control of the room. Daniel folded his hands. "How can I help?" I said I need to access my safe deposit box, and I need a printout of any recent access logs, any notes, any attempted changes tied to my profile. His eyes tightened. "That is a very specific request." I gave him a look that said, "I noticed," he noticed, It is the request, I said. He hesitated, then nodded and opened a file on his computer. Mr. Hayes, before we proceed, I want to confirm a couple of things for your security. I said, go ahead. He cleared his throat. We have a note on your account. There it was, the landmine. A note, I repeated. Daniel spoke carefully. It indicates that your family asked us to be cautious about certain transactions due to concerns about your well-being. My chest tightened, not because I was surprised, but because hearing it out loud made it real in a new way. They were building a paper trail. They were trying to turn me into a problem the bank needed to manage. What concerns, I asked? Daniel shifted his weight. It is a general caution. It suggests we should verify identity carefully. I leaned forward. Daniel, I used to train your staff on how to verify identity. I wrote the internal guidance on elder exploitation flags. Do not talk to me like I wandered in here from a bus stop. Tell me exactly who placed the note and what it says. His eyes widened slightly. Then he nodded like a man realizing he picked the wrong customer to condescend to. It was placed by an authorized contact, he said. Your son, Ethan Hayes. I felt heat rise behind my eyes, then settle into cold. Authorized contact. That phrase always sounded harmless until someone used it like a crowbar. I kept my voice even. Remove the note. Daniel blinked. I cannot remove it without documentation. Then document it, I said. I want a copy of the note, I want the timestamp, and I want the full access history on my safe deposit box. Daniel inhaled slowly. Mr. Hayes' safe